Hello, everybody. My name is Pierre-Yves Ricau, or PY. I work at Square. I made LeakCanary a couple years back, and so it's a library for finding memory leaks. Let's start with that. How many people here have used LeakCanary before or seen it? Okay, great. So today, I'm not going to do any work. You're doing all the work, right? So this is a workshop. So hopefully you brought a laptop, and hopefully your laptop still has battery. I know it's the end of the day, and there's not many plugs. Don't hesitate to find someone and maybe ask if you can join them through the workshop. So what I did is I took an open source app from Zach Swears, and I added memory leaks into it, and I was hiding them. And I'm hoping that it's going to take you a little bit of time to find them. Hopefully not too long. We have an hour and 10 minutes. So the instructions are at this link that I put up there. Don't hesitate to interrupt me, raise your hand if something does not make sense, if something's broken. I'll show you what the instructions look like maybe in a minute, but for now you can just go on your own. You'll need to download Android Studio Canary first, how appropriate. But that's actually not my decision. I used Zach's open source app, and he always updates to the latest stuff. So you need to use the latest version of Android Studio, the latest unstable version, which you can download. I provided the link up there. And so that's going to take a minute or two anyway. There is Wi-Fi. If you haven't been connecting to the Wi-Fi, ask. I think it's something guest, and it's a free open Wi-Fi. So yeah, you can check out the app, open it in Android Studio Canary, and follow the instructions, reproduce the leaks. And I'll be mostly floating around. If there's like interesting question, I can answer them in person, and then maybe I'll talk to you all like about what we just talked about. This is also a time where I'm available to help you with your own leaks that you have in your own app. So if there's something you want to show me, maybe try to do the workshop first, to kind of like get the spirit, see if it's going well. And then I'm more than happy to spend some time helping you through some issues. Yep, got a question?
You said Android Studio Canary, is that 4.0?
Yes.
Why specifically?
Wait, what? Sorry?
Why do we need that?
Oh, because the open source app that this is based on, which is called Catchup, has been updated to that. I think it's because Zach wanted to use view bindings, the latest stuff. So there's a lot of alpha stuff in there. If you don't use Android Studio, you're probably going to run into issues. You might have to downgrade some stuff. I didn't bother doing that. So yeah, you might need to download that. So this link that I was just showing you takes you to this GitHub repo where it's going to tell you to download the latest Android Studio and clone the repo. This codebase has a mix of Java and Kotlin and a lot of hot technologies, which is great because it's a lot of code, so it's really hard to find the leaks by just reading the code. You don't have time to read all of the code, so you're going to have to actually work for it. For the latecomers, you want to go to that link and follow the instructions. So once you've built and run the app, the idea is that you're going to click on Profiler here, the little plus, and then select your device. And oops, no, that's not the right app. So, I should probably just run it again. Okay, so I was saying, all right, so here there's Catchup, which is this app from Zach, and when I click on this, let me just remove all this. We can see the amount of memory that the app is using. So this is the Android Studio profiler. So with an Android emulator, I don't know if you know, but if you hit Command left or Command right, that's the shortcut for rotating the screen. So here I can see that I'm rotating like back and forth. And memory is rising, but it's not going back down. Huh, weird. I can ask for garbage collection, but it doesn't seem to do anything. If I do it enough, I can probably crash. Though we're at like 90 megs, so it's going to be a while before we... Are you going to be done downloading before I hit out of memory error? It's a race. We're still downloading Android Studio. 1, 2, it's getting better. Okay, so we see that the memory is going up, and it's not coming back down. Luckily enough, this app uses a little bit of memory per screen, and so it's going to be a while before it crashes, but eventually it would crash with an out-of-memory error. So I'm going to add LeakCanary and see what happens. So the instructions are in the documentation. And if you're still using LeakCanary 1, there's an upgrade guide, but otherwise it's as simple as adding a dependency. So there's a bit of a weird thing, you might not be used to that. Zach used Kotlin scripts for his Gradle build scripts. So that's kind of weird. Hold on. So I forgot to mention it's in the app/build.gradle.kts that you'll want to add the LeakCanary dependency. And you'll need parentheses in quotes. Right. So the file is app/build.gradle.kts, and then you have, it's really just code, and so you're adding a method called to debug implementation with a string which is the version, and then just a quick Gradle sync. You might still be downloading dependencies because that also takes a while. And then when I run the app again, anyone still downloading Android Studio? Wow, did you pick the slow Wi-Fi? So I just redeployed with LeakCanary, and now when I do a few rotations of my emulator, like this, I get a notification that tells me there are a number of retained objects, and LeakCanary decided enough is enough, I need to figure out what's going on. And it found 3 leaks. And this is where it gets interesting. So this is the new UI in LeakCanary. It's showing you that for a given heap dump, there's a bunch of standard information, and then you have the number of distinct leaks. So we have 3 different objects leaking, but we found that they're all due to the same memory leak. Hopefully you're able to reproduce that. So far, so good. And when you get there, you'll get this kind of like UI that tells you what you can do about it, and this is where we're starting the fun part. How many people have added LeakCanary and are able to repro? No one? Oh yeah, a few, okay. Can I help? Anyone else? What are you waiting for? What? Build? Okay. Oh my god. I thought Gradle was fast now. See the room of developers who just wanna build. Maybe yeah, we need to build cache server. So is the build slowing down on downloading dependencies? Is that what's going on? Is everybody hitting? Oh my god. Right. I don't know how we do these things. It's like NDK. I have no idea. We could look. It's somewhere in there. Oh, probably dependencies. Keep in mind, this is not even my app. I picked Zach's app. I actually don't know where to look. Do you have a line number? Right. So that's, 400 alpha. I see. So, yeah, because I started this workshop a couple of weeks back. It was still Alpha 3, and they upgraded to Alpha 4. And it worked for me, but probably not working for y'all. So, let's see. Should I try to close this and Doop. Doop. I'm gonna try Alpha 4. I was still in 3 actually. Can I? It's down, but why is it downloading the NDK? That shouldn't be right. What? Okay. Let me find. What do you think? Update or manually? That's what that does. It's like, But though I just did that, so it's just not. It's a file, Gradle sync. No, this is why we use Bazel. Just kidding. It's all bad. I'm doing happy face for the photo. But clearly, and this is, I hate Gradle. In the room? Okay. So this was actually a Gradle workshop, not a LeakCanary workshop.
Well, I got it running without Android Studio 4.0.
Oh, cool. Okay, okay. That sounds cool. What'd you do?
Command line.
In what?
Command line. Just add the
Cool. And
dependency
so
and build it. And then you still have to download Gradle 6.0, but
that's faster. Great. So if you feel like living dangerously and living an adventure, you can run this command, I think. Gradle w app :install debug. Sounds about right. And that should do the trick. And then you can edit everything with VI or whatever you like, TextMate. So in the meantime, so as you may know, LeakCanary installs a second icon. And that you might not know that it also installs a dynamic shortcut. So when you long press on your app icon here at Catch-up, you can find access to the list of leaks directly from there. And so this is the new-ish UI where we have the list of distinct leaks on the first tab, the list of heap dumps on the second tab, and about, doesn't matter. What's interesting though is that you can, if you click on a heap dump, you can actually share it as a file. It's a htprof file. You can send that over email or something. But you can then import it on the other hand. So you could send a file to a colleague and they can import and try to figure out what's up. Yeah. The other new-ish feature is that if you're like, I don't know what to do with this, you can share to Stack Overflow. And so it opens up, so I'm not logged in, so that's not going to show. And I'm not going to type my password right now. But it opens up to Stack Overflow, and then the content of the leak is copied into the clipboard. And so you can just paste and post your question, and it opens up on the LeakCanary hashtag. There's a bunch of questions up there. I try to look every now and then. I think other people do. So I'm hoping that I do it mostly because I want to learn what problems people have and what's hard about fixing those memory leaks. Okay, so that's interesting. It's taking a while for me too, which I think it's just the update to Alpha 4 that's done that. Great. Yeah.
So with LeakCanary, if I enable it with the custom options to enable it later with the setting, it doesn't install the leaks activity in the launcher. And also I don't see it that whatever the notification if you hold it down. Is there a way to enable that later if you're also dynamically turning on LeakCanary?
Are you on the latest, 3 or 5, or because I think I reverted that behavior, where the default because I had people complaining about the missing icon, so I brought it back, and now there is an XML configuration that you can add if you want to remove the icon. But the default is that the icon is there even if you've disabled in code LeakCanary. Yeah. How are we doing on building? Do I still have, how many people are running the app? Wow, that's hope right here. I'm really happy with that. How many people have the leak? And, okay, how many people have fixed the leak? Oh, okay. Oh, I have one. Nice. That was what? Okay. So this is what the leak looks like. And there's a lot of, oh, I'm hearing LeakCanary sounds, like the notification sound. And I don't want any spoilers, like I don't want to tell you what the problem is. But the thing I want to point out about the UI, it might not be obvious, but you can see that there's purple and red. I hope you're not colorblind, because that doesn't really help. And what the purple represents is references. So, an object references another object. And then a leak happens because there is a bad reference to an object that should not be present in memory. And here what LeakCanary is doing is it's saying, oh, I know that this reference, the call content provider, that context, I know that this reference is actually fine. But when it shows red, it says, I don't know about that one. That one may be the source of the problem. And so it's able to make these distinctions. For example, here, LeakCanary looks at catch-up application, and it sees, oh, this is the application class. The application class is a singleton, which means it's always in memory, which means anything that points to the application class is not the problem. The problem is later. And so here, the problem is somewhere down here. And we have a chain of objects that eventually is referencing launcher activity. And that launcher activity has been destroyed, but is still held in memory. I should close Slack. I can't believe this build is taking so long. This was not doing that on Alpha 3.
Completely unrelated comment, but I now have 3 LeakCanary icons in my launcher, and they're all identical.
This is a great comment, actually. So, unfortunately, Android does not have APIs for a library to customize or to basically create an icon at runtime, a launcher icon. But you have solutions-ish. You can actually override a resource that corresponds to the LeakCanary icon. So for your app, you could make a custom LeakCanary icon and then override an XML resource for that.
How does the calendar show the 25th as its icon?
So, sorry, come again?
How does the Google Calendar show the 25th as its icon?
Is it always the 25th? Wait, hold on. You're. Oh, that's really cool. I never thought of that. That's amazing. I don't think I can make an activity alias for every app that's out there. I didn't know that. I'm glad I learned something. Oh, build fail. Great. Okay, this is pretty shitty. What's going on? Sorry. Oh, out of memory error. Fine. Try again. So I'm glad that some of you have been able to work around that. I don't know how you did it. To kind of work through, okay. So here's what I'll do. I'll give some stickers around, and then we'll start working through some of these. Yeah, sounds good. You don't have to take a sticker if you don't want one. It's just, I have a question there. And maybe I can talk through this leak. So the thing that's weird about, the Java memory is fairly complex, and there's many objects in memory. And so when you find a memory leak, the same bug might appear in different ways. And so what LeakCanary tries to do is find the commonalities and group them together with those commonalities. And So when I look at this here, I don't know if we can I zoom? How do I zoom? Hmm.
Bigger with the drag a corner.
Oh, like this. Ooh. Coming up. Coming up. No, that's, oh. Yeah, I guess I'm at the max, and then coming up only works to an extent, and then but this works somehow. And then this, and then this. Whew! Oh, yeah, I guess. What? That's not useful. Okay. Anyways, so from what we can see here, we can see that Coil content provider, well, it's a content provider. It's holding on to the application class. We know that the application class is a singleton. What's more interesting is that there's a field here called M-activity lifecycle callbacks. And if you open up the class catch-up application, which is the custom application class, so catch up application, you will not find M-activity lifecycle callbacks in here. So what's that field? Where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from a superclass. And if I search for M-activity, I'm not going to find it either because that superclass is the application class. But here, if I do a text search, M-activity lifecycle callbacks, I will find a field of activity lifecycle callbacks. So this is the Android source code. It's not your application's source code, right? And it's got a private field. This application class has a private field. And as a developer, you can register an activity lifecycle callback that will be called back every time an activity is created, stopped, destroyed, resumed, etc. This is great for building libraries and framework and like knowing about what's going on. It's also easy to make a mistake and somehow keep that activity around when you shouldn't. And so when I read this, I'm like, oh, what is M-activity lifecycle callback? Oh, it's part of the Android framework. I want to make an assumption that my default assumption is that the Android framework does not have leaks. That's not always true, but it's a good default assumption to start with. So this is probably fine. And it's a list of listeners. So obviously I see array list in here. Element data is part of the implementation of the Java array list class. So array list is just a class which has an object array in it, if you didn't know. If you want to look at the implementation of array list, which we can do, if I can type, which is not, okay. Boop, boop, boop. I can click where? Yeah. Yep. So we can see that the array list is backed by an array called element data. So whenever you use a list, an array list, that's actually where the data is stored. And here, LeakCanary is telling me the element number 9 of that array is a resumed activity provider $initialize $1, which that's a weird name. But if you learn a bit about Java in the compiler, you'll know that this is essentially an inner class or anonymous class name, or lambda, depending on what you're looking at. But when you see dollars, you can think lambdas and anonymous classes. And then goes on, and that has a field called resumed activities, which is also an array, we can see that, or an array list, which holds on to launcher activity. And then if we look at the details, we can say LeakCanary has determined that this is leaking because the mDestroyed field is true, which means this activity is destroyed. And also, LeakCanary has a custom listener, and so when an activity is destroyed, it tags it and passes it to an object watcher. So this is what this means. So clearly here, I want to jump to this resumed activity provider. What is this? And it is something that keeps a list of resumed activities. When the activity is created, it adds it to the list of activity. When it's paused, it removes it. When it's resumed, it adds it. What is wrong here? Yeah, so there's definitely a lack of symmetry. You'll notice it's being added twice and removed once. So we could, and so this is a list, which means that if I add twice the same entry, and then I remove one entry, the second one is still there. So we could, maybe try to say, oh, I just need the symmetry of this destroyed. Or conversely, we could say, oh, we only care about resumed, so it doesn't make sense to store it in created anyway. The truth here is that this is actually not used. I just created it for the purpose of having a leak, so it doesn't really matter. But this should fix the leak. And so if we redeploy, which I guess we can't do anymore because alpha. Okay, let me just do this. The leak should be gone, which then takes us to a train. And so in that README, I put, and you don't have to read that now, but if you have, that's great. So we try to write a help page for like, what the hell is a memory leak? How do I think about this? How does LeakCanary work? That kind of stuff. It's the fundamental page. I encourage you to read it, but also send that to your colleagues when they're like confused. You can start with like, maybe you can read this, and then we can talk about it. If I try my best here, but this is hard, and I'm sure there's some stuff that's very confusing in there. Don't hesitate to open up an issue. You can click on report here, and it's opening up an issue, and you can explain what's wrong with this page. And so don't hesitate to do that. Don't assume like it should be clear to you. If something is not clear to you, it's because I made a mistake, not because you're too stupid or something, right? So like reverse the way you think about this and think, this was not clear to me, sorry, please help. Okay, build successful, and this leak is hopefully gone. No more leak. Voila. Okay, that feels great. How many people have reproduced leak number 2? Okay, leak number 3? Okay, we're not there yet. Do you want me to continue, keep going with that? Sounds good? Okay, so leak number 2 is fragmented, and it says, oh, what is this? It says, go to the little basketball here, dribble. Wait. And wait some more. And LeakCanary should say hi, but it's not saying hi. Oh, did I remove LeakCanary from? No, I didn't. Okay, let's try again. 1, 2. So the other thing you can do, oh, hey, hello. So, by the way, a number of people have pointed out that the notification icon does not look like Twitter at all, but sometimes you get Twitter DMs and you think it's a Twitter DM, but it's actually a LeakCanary notification, or vice versa. So we're going to work on a more different icon for notifications. So here I want to talk about this notification for a bit. So in version 1 of LeakCanary, every time a retained object was detected, this activity is destroyed, we think it should be garbage collected, we would trigger LeakCanary. But that means LeakCanary is just running all the time. So now we have a threshold of 5, and when there's 5 objects, it will run LeakCanary. Or if you press home and go in the background, or if you tap the notification. But by default, it waits for 5. So, and one of the reasons is that if there's a leak in the Android framework, like in Android P, a view group leak or something like that, at least it's going to wait until you have a few more leaks of your own before it triggers the thing. So here, I can press the notification. It's dumping the memory. It's telling me what it's doing. You can also see that in logcat. And then I can look at it. And so here, 2 leaks. That's interesting. Let's jump at the first one. So what do we see? We see there's a service fragment that leaked. And we have a really long leak trace. And it's telling us, oh, there's this window manager global. It's holding on to this list of things, which holds on to the view root. However, you'll notice it's all purple, no red here. And it's gathering information. It's telling you, well, I know that view root impl is an internal class of Android, and this is not leaking because view root impl has an mview field, and that means the view is attached right now. And then we get to this like recycler view impl, which we haven't heard before. We don't know about, and then hold on to like this pager adapter inner classes, which has a field called registered fragments. And I'm going to go to the other one just to check what's that about. This looks like I haven't seen this leak before. It's another surprise leak. Okay, we can get to that later. Sounds interesting, not mine. So here, for that one specifically, again, the red references, which means there is about 4 options as to where the problem is. But if you look at, you're like, okay, if we look at the end, we see there's a sparse array that holds onto an object. So sparse array is a pretty standard implementation, which means that's not what the problem is. The problem is before or after. And essentially, we're saying, okay, I have a fragment that's inside a sparse array, and my fragment is leaking because it's detached. It has a null field. M fragment manager is null. Okay, cool. So let's go up a little bit. What do we see? We see that there's 2 things. It's either viewpager2.recyclerViewImpl, which is holding on to this thing. But you can see the name of the field is M adapter. So really, this is the adapter of the recycler view. So do we expect a recycler view to hold on to its adapter? Yes. So we don't think the problem is there in general, which means the problem is here. There is something that adapter has an has a registered fragments field that is somehow keeping dead fragments. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to be like, okay, what is this? It's a pager fragment. And then registered fragments. Cool, so because we updated to Android 4, Alpha 4, like nothing's compiling, you don't have any syntax highlighting. But here we have a field, okay, of fragments. Oh, syntax highlighting, great. We can see that we're, if we look at usages of this, which that's not working, we can see that in create fragments, so that's a recycler thing. When the adapter needs to create a fragment, it calls create fragment, okay. And we create a fragment, and then this is Kotlin. We also put it inside this sparse array of fragments. Oh, and we never remove it from it. So that's bad. What can we do there? There's many things we can do. But if we want to go quick, we could just say, I don't know. You don't have this fragment thing anymore. This is just going to return null. And this is called here. And this says when the tab is reselected, I'm just going to do this. I'm just doing a what? Oh, need the type here. This is going to be a fragment, or maybe not, I think. What's the type of registered fragment? Removed it, okay. Yeah. So here, I'm not taking the time to actually understand, what's going on. You probably would want to think, what is the feature that's going on here, and how do I reproduce that? But essentially, if you're tracking fragment in a place, you need to make sure that you're removing those fragments when they're detached and destroyed. Cool. So the thing about this leak that was kind of different is that now it's a fragment leak. It's not just activities. LeakCanary is also tracking fragments. In fact, if you use any other thing than activities and fragments, for example, I don't know, MVM, or Navigator, or Flow, or Workflow, or whatever other library where you have some sort of different entities that have a life cycle, then you can pass those to LeakCanary as soon as they're destroyed. But out of the box, LeakCanary comes with support for fragments and fragment views and activities. And we are redeployed, and I think the leak is probably fixed. Okay. But we won't know until it shows up or it doesn't show up. Cool. So what's the next thing? The next one is, let's go to the settings. I think we have about 10 minutes left, I think. So I'll go a little bit faster. And in theory, this should have triggered the leak. Rotate the screen a few times. Well, some leaks are smarter than others, and they can hide when you search for them. Maybe, no, it's supposed to be here. You know what, I'll go to the next leak anyway. So let's talk about, because this is one of the most common type of leak. So here what I have is I have a screen. When I press a button, it adds a fragment to the backstack and moves on to the next fragment. Sure enough, I get this notification. I say, okay, please analyze the things now. Oh, wait, one more. Can I do dol? Okay, and so here, this is one of the, so the reason I put this leak here is that because it's one of the most common leaks found on Stack Overflow. Everybody struggles with that. So same thing, I got a huge leak trace. Oh, that's very, very confusing, right? Except I'm kind of lucky this time because all of this is purple. I don't need to look at it. I need to look at the red parts. And what I can see is that I have an about fragment. It has a field called binding. And that binding has a view reference to a banner container. And that view is leaking. So this is important because as we're moving towards recent more new stuff in Android, there's people are using view binding a lot more, and there is a very common mistake that you can make. So let's talk about this about fragments. So about fragment was the fragment that we were seeing right before. So here, and this fragment is here. It's active. It's attached. And then when I hit learn more, go to the next fragment. So we have click listener. When I go to next fragment, we commit a transaction that replaces the fragment and add the about fragment to the backstack. That's great. But now this about fragment is held in memory because it's part of the backstack, but it's detached, which means its view has been destroyed. And so this is kind of what we see here. We see that this about fragment is not leaking. The fragment itself is fine. It has a fragment manager. It's attached. The fragment itself is attached, but it has a detached view. And the problem is fragments have two callbacks that you should know about. There's onCreate view, which you know about. But a lot of times people don't know about onDestroy view. And when onDestroy view is called, the fragment is supposed to let go of its view. The problem is when you use something like view binding, then you have this binding field, and the binding is holding on to the entire view hierarchy of the fragments. So here binding is like in our base fragments, so that's even worse. So one way we could deal with that would be to, in onDestroy view, set the binding to null, which we can because this is Kotlin and we said the binding is never going to be null. So we'll have to maybe make this a nullable type, but then that breaks all of our code. So that kind of sucks. Maybe we want to be tricky and have making things up, but we'll have a underscore binding implementation, and then we'll say that binding is a var, see, I can't remember how to write some Kotlin, but essentially I can set the setter to set binding call value, and the getter to return binding. I think it's like that. That's what I meant to do. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Yeah, no, because I don't want binding to be a field. I just want to be a delegate, I guess. Look, that's what I meant. And then this is late init binding. Yeah, that's fine. What is that about? Yeah, right. So, and then I can do this equals null. Right, and so that way I can do this equals null, and this is going to be t. And this is going to say never null. Yeah, so that's kind of one ways you can fix that. But the point here is that a lot of times when you add fragments to a view pager or a backstack, if those fragments end up being in that state where they don't have a view for a while, you need to remember to clear all references in onDestroy view. I think we're doing pretty good on time, so I don't want to hold you much more. There was one more leak that we didn't get to, which was about not disposing of. So in the settings, actually, I'll just show you quickly. So I did. So there's this thing called auto dispose that can where you when you have an RX. So do you see this error message? Auto dispose is something that you can add to your RX Java that will automatically make sure that when your lifecycle is destroyed, the subscriptions are unsubscribed, preventing memory leaks. But the thing that happens is people forget to use auto dispose, and so there's also like compiler extensions, I think, or IDE plugins that tell you, hey, you forgot to apply auto dispose on this thing. And so here, we would just do, I think, .auto dispose, and then it'll be happy, and then the leak is gone. So I don't understand because I was able to reproduce it earlier and not anymore. Okay, so with that, I'm sorry that you were not able to, that some of you or a number of you were not able to run through this. The general idea is LeakCanary 2 should be much faster, much better. If you have bugs or issues, don't hesitate to create issues. You'll notice that the number of stall issues is pretty low. It's about 30, and that's because I actually go through every one of them and try to figure out what's going on. So don't hesitate to reach out. The goal is to make this better for everybody, and I think we'll get to a 2.0 release soon-ish. There are more stickers here. I'm available for questions, and then feel free to enjoy the party. I'm also going to be around for the follow-on party, so if you want to talk, I'm happy to chat. That's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you.